My dyslexic report was so boring to read. The fact that I made it through 20 pages of information about my dyslexia, this is a topic I'm interested in, was really quite impressive. But honestly, it didn't really teach me much about dyslexia. And that is what I see over and over again. Dyslexic people not understanding the truth of what is dyslexia and what is them. And that is why this month we are going to be covering 4 dyslexic traits that I know people need to understand better from the thousands of conversations that I have had with fellow dyslexic people. This is the Dyslexia in Adults podcast. I'm Natalie Brooks, and in this show, we don't call dyslexia a superpower, but we do teach you to be confident with managing dyslexia at work. Today's episode is an embarrassing dyslexic mistake. You know, the kind of ones that they make your toes curl when you think about what you've done in the past. And that's ordering thoughts. Now, you might be thinking, you know what, Natalie, I've made worse. But we all know that feeling when you're talking to someone and they're looking at you going, what on earth is she saying? Because you've kind of jumped around the point, not quite explained yourself clearly, and it can be so frustrating. So I want to give you 3 explanations on why this is a problem that you're facing. Because when you understand these things, it's much easier to build strategies. So, reason number 1 you might often struggle with ordering your thoughts is dyslexic people are big picture thinkers. Now, this is obviously a term that you and I have heard a lot. But what does it really mean? How can you kind of think about it or understand it better? I like to think of big picture thinking as widening your sphere of vision. So basically, the amount of things you might connect to a topic or you might think about in regards to something is significantly more than someone else will, which means you're thinking about more things. There's more things to understand in that topic, which can make it more complicated in your mind. Whenever I'm thinking about big picture thinking, I'm always imagining someone looking down from a plane. And you can see all the fields, all the towns, all the roads, all the tiny little people moving around in their cars. And that wider sphere of vision you have from being up in a plane helps you view things differently. That's how I always think about big picture thinking. So that's reason number 1, this kind of wider sense of things you might be thinking about on a topic. So reason number 2 that you're struggling to order your thoughts is very connected to big picture thinking. It's nonlinear thinking, which is this kind of complex sounding term that basically means putting things into reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3 can feel really difficult. It's because of that big picture and all the different elements we've brought in that pulling them down and ordering them in a simplistic way can feel really overwhelming. Now, let me give you an example of a coaching client that I think is going to really resonate. So I was coaching this lady called Erin, and she really struggled in meetings. This is the whole reason she came to me for coaching. She was sat in meetings, and she would often find herself bringing in a different thought or a different idea to a topic that was being discussed. So it felt really disconnected to what someone was talking about. But because she's a big picture thinker, because she saw things in that wider field of vision, she would often see that interconnection and want to bring in another thought. But that felt really overwhelming. The topic and concept was in one area, and now she was bringing in something else and explaining how they were interconnected and explaining all of the elements that makes them fit together in a simple and easy to explain way felt too overwhelming. So instead, just like I'm sure you often do, she stayed quiet. It felt easier to say nothing than to bring forward her great idea. Ordering her thoughts just felt too embarrassing that she just wanted to stay quiet. So that's reason number 1 and reason number 2 that maybe you really connect with. But what Erin didn't quite factor in was number 3, which is working memory. So holding all of that information, her big field of vision, and all of the elements that came into that view in her head to remember everything to say and the correct order, she would trip over herself because of her weak working memory. And for anyone that is new to dyslexia in adults, working memory is just your brain's Post-it note where it holds pieces of information for you. And working memory challenges and dealing with her working memory issues is where we started to fix this problem. For Erin, working memory, reason number 3, was her biggest challenge for sure. And that's where we started on trying to figure out how to manage ordering her thoughts and getting her ideas out in meetings. So what we looked at is how can she start to sketch out what she's thinking and all the ideas that are coming in, then order her thoughts. But that sketching out process on a notebook or kind of starting with her thoughts being a little bit more disorganized and then wrapping up afterwards to deal with working memory challenges was the key. So she would make a bridge to her point, then make sure that the elements of the point were written down, and then she started communicating her ideas and speaking up in meetings, feeling like her dyslexia was actually a value and not this thing that was a curse. So these are the 3 reasons I find dyslexic people are struggling with ordering thoughts. Number 1, big picture thinking is widening your field of vision. Number 2, ordering your thoughts and all the interconnections you see can feel so difficult. Then finally, number 3, holding all of that information, all of that order in your head with working memory can feel so difficult. And just when you thought that was probably enough challenges to struggle with, there's a bonus one. What you've got to remember is that dyslexic people are visual thinkers. So when we're thinking about the big picture or we've got an idea in our head, we're often thinking about an image. And so transitioning that into words can feel so difficult. And that's why words can often feel like your nemesis with dyslexia. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. And if you've enjoyed Dyslexic Traits, we've got lots more coming this month. But if in the meantime, you don't fancy reading a 20-page dyslexic report, we do have a full list of dyslexic traits and how to manage them in our free guide. And trust me, it is way easier to understand, and you can find it in the show notes below.